My mom, 52-year-old female, and dad, 54-year-old male, had a pretty messy divorce when I, 17-year-old female, was about 6. My mom had cheated, and my dad was really upset about it because he really loved her. They had a divorce, and my mom basically gave up all custody of me. She did have visitation rights, but never used them. She also never tried to contact me despite my dad trying to keep an open line of communication. Anyway, my dad met Donna, 52-year-old female, when I was 7. I had begun to notice my dad paying more attention to his appearance and looking much happier when he met Donna. I officially met Donna like 2 months before turning 8. I didn't really like her at that point because the wounds from my mom were still pretty fresh, but she was very patient with me. She let me know right away that she wouldn't try to take my mother's role and would understand my distance so long as I was polite. And then they announced that they would get married when I was 8. Donna let me be a part of her wedding, and no, I didn't throw a fit or anything because my dad was happy. Not long after their honeymoon, Donna was expecting. This is where I think her and my relationship started to change. She let me be a part of her pregnancy the whole way. She asked me for ideas on the nursery, paint colors, toys, and she even wanted me to help name my future half-sibling. I started getting much closer to her, and it really helped me cope with my mom's absence. Donna ended up having triplets boys, and she even took one of my name ideas for one of my brothers. And despite what some people think of their half-siblings, Donna's and my dad's kids really felt like they were my brothers. She didn't even let her parents see the triplets before I did. The boys are 9 now, and I love them with every fiber of my being. They're all so cute and sweet and have their personalities. Donna and I are really close now, and I even asked if I could call her mom when I was 14. This is where everything goes downhill. But when I turned 15, my mom came back into the picture. She suddenly wanted to see me and actually took my dad to court in order to get custody. For some reason, the judge took pity on her and actually gave her 50/50 custody. My mom had remarried to Jim. I don't know if he's the affair partner. And they also have 4 kids together, 2 of which are from Jim's previous marriage. I guess my mom thought everything would be okay with us. But let's just say me and her don't get along. I'll admit I did act like a B-teach sometimes in her house. Jim also thought that I should treat him like a father. That didn't go too well with him. And they all thought that I would treat my half-siblings like actual siblings. I don't know what it is about them, but I just don't feel the same way to them as I do the triplets. Actually, I do know they're all huge brats. They cry 24/7 even more than the triplets did as babies. And they're always asking to play with me even if I have schoolwork. And mom gets mad at me if I don't want to, so I always just stay in my room, which is the basement, when I'm there. Now to the issue. I was at my mom's house 2 weeks ago for the weekend, and I was about to go back to my dad's. My dad came to pick me up, sidetrack my mom really doesn't like my dad, or Donna accuse, she thinks that they said stuff to me to get me to hate her and her kids. And he came with one of the triplets because they had a stomach ache. I had taken him out of his car seat and was playing with him a little before I got into the car. Apparently, one of my half-sisters saw that and was inconsolable to my mom. She called me a couple hours later to yell at me about it. She basically said, "Don't you love your siblings too?" And I told her no. She hung up after saying that she and I will talk about it next I'm there. I was there last weekend, and she and Jim were yelling at me about it. She asked me again if I love her kids, and Jim, I told her no, they're annoying and I don't care for them. She started crying and asked if I loved her. I told her I don't really, and said, "Why would I care about you? You left me for 7 years before you decided you wanted a relationship. I'm pretty sure you only wanted me back so you didn't have to pay child support for me." Yes, I did ask my dad about that, and he said my mom was told to pay a couple $100. But after that line, there was more screaming and crying, so I just went back to my dad's house, and my mom and Jim have been crying to me since. So, Reddit. Am I the idiot for telling my mom why I don't like her and her kids? Now for a small update. First of all, thank you all for the support. I was pretty secure with my actions, but you all just made it clearer. Also, thank you all who said kind words to Donna and my dad. I'll make sure to show them. But you all will not believe me when I got a text a couple minutes ago from my mom. She basically said that she's going to go to court again to try and fight my dad for full custody of me. Like, sure, the courts are going to give you full custody of your 17-year-old daughter that you didn't see for about 9 years. I'm seriously debating on just not going again for the weekend. I'll talk to my dad about stopping visitation, but one commenter brought up how it might be a little risky, so I'll ask if we could talk to a lawyer about it. I also haven't had a chance to talk with my dad and Donna about not going over there. My dad is also a child of divorce, but in his case, his mom never let him have a relationship with his father after the divorce. I think that's why he wants me and my mom to talk. I'll talk to them about this when I have a chance. Also, small update on my brother. Turns out he accidentally swallowed a nail. No, I have no clue how TF he did it. So Donna is spending the night in the emergency room with him. QS, the nail started to poke into his intestine lining, and that's what was causing the pain. He should be good. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I'm much older than you. I stopped having contact with my mother for my peace of mind about 10 years ago. Only you can decide. I would have been devastated to have been abandoned by my mother for years. It doesn't sound like they have put in the effort to build back up the relationship. Good luck. Comment 2. Ask your dad to talk to his lawyer. Tell the lawyer that you do not want contact with biomom. Tell him or her that the minute you turn 18, you will be cutting off all contact with your biomom. Donna is your mama. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the comments from my last post. So 2 weeks ago, things took a turn for the worse. My mom actually went through with her threat and filed for full custody. I couldn't believe it when I got the court summons. My dad was furious, and Donna was worried sick. We had to scramble to find a lawyer who could help us fight this. The whole thing felt like a nightmare. The court date was set for last Friday, and the days leading up to it were tense. My dad and Donna tried to keep things normal for the triplets, but I could see the stress in their eyes. I spent a lot of time in my room, trying to avoid the tension. I felt guilty, like this was all my fault for not being able to get along with my mom and her family. When the day finally came, we all went to court. My mom was there with Jim and their lawyer. The judge listened to both sides, and I had to testify about my relationship with my mom. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done. I had to tell the court how I felt abandoned by her, and how I didn't feel any connection to her or her kids. My mom cried, and Jim looked angry. It was a mess. The judge didn't make a decision that day, which left us all in limbo. My dad and Donna tried to reassure me that everything would be okay, but I could tell they were worried. I felt like I was walking on eggshells, trying not to make things worse. In the meantime, things at my mom's house got even more unbearable. She and Jim were constantly on my case, trying to get me to spend time with my half-siblings. They didn't understand that I just didn't feel the same way about them as I did about the triplets. One night, my mom cornered me in the kitchen and demanded to know why I couldn't just try harder. I snapped and told her that she couldn't force me to love them. She slapped me, and I ran to my room in tears. I called my dad and told him what happened. He was livid and said he was coming to get me right away. When he arrived, there was a huge argument between him and my mom. Jim tried to step in, but my dad told him to back off. I grabbed my things and left with my dad, feeling a mix of relief and guilt. Back at my dad's house, things were tense. Donna was trying to keep the triplets calm, but they could sense something was wrong. My dad and I had a long talk that night. He told me that he understood how hard this was for me and that he would support me no matter what. I felt a little better, but I couldn't shake the feeling that things were only going to get worse. The next day, we got a call from our lawyer. The judge had made a decision. My mom was granted temporary full custody until the final hearing. I was devastated. I couldn't believe that I would have to live with my mom and her family full time. My dad was crushed, and Donna was in tears. The triplets didn't understand why I had to leave, and it broke my heart to see them so upset. Moving in with my mom was a nightmare. Jim was even more overbearing, and my half-siblings were constantly demanding my attention. I felt like I was suffocating. My mom tried to act like everything was fine, but I could see the strain in her eyes. She knew I didn't want to be there, and it was tearing her apart. One night, I overheard my mom and Jim arguing. He was angry that she had pushed for full custody, saying that it was causing more harm than good. My mom broke down, saying that she just wanted to make things right with me. It was the first time I saw her vulnerable, and it made me feel conflicted. I didn't know if I could ever forgive her, but I could see that she was trying. Despite everything, I couldn't shake the feeling that I didn't belong there. I missed my dad, Donna, and the triplets. I felt like I was being torn in two. My grades started to slip, and I found it hard to concentrate on anything. My mom noticed and tried to help, but it only made things worse. I felt like I was drowning. One weekend, I decided to sneak out and visit my dad. I needed to see him and Donna, to feel like I was home again. When I got there, they were so happy to see me. We spent the day together, and for a moment, I felt like everything was okay. But I knew it couldn't last. I had to go back to my mom's house, and it felt like a punch to the gut. Back at my mom's, things were even more tense. She found out about my visit to my dad's and was furious. She and Jim grounded me and took away my phone. I felt like a prisoner. I started to withdraw even more, spending all my time in my room. My mom tried to reach out, but I pushed her away. I couldn't deal with her guilt and my own anger. As the final court date approached, I felt like I was on the edge of a cliff. I didn't know what the judge would decide, but I knew that whatever happened, things would never be the same. I felt like I was losing a part of myself, and I didn't know how to get it back. Thanks for reading. Am I the idiot for refusing to let my girlfriend's judgmental best friend stay with us? My girlfriend Anna, 32 years old, all names changed by the way, and I, 35 years old, are currently living in a house that I owned since before the start of our relationship. Anna's best friend Catherine, 33 years old, and I never really got along. Partially maybe because we're very different types of people, but primarily it's because she doesn't approve of the fact that Anna and I have an open relationship. Ever since Anna disclosed this fact to Catherine, she accused me of cheating, and that I pressured Anna into it. Our interactions have gone from frosty to cold. And just to set the record straight, it's not cheating. Cheating absolutely exists in open relationships. The thresholds are just set through discussion, and neither of us ever did anything that's against these agreed-upon hard rules ever. Also, neither one of us pressured the other one. We just had a conversation early in our relationship why our previous relationships failed, and realized that both of us struggled with relationships getting routine, and we weren't ready to mothball the thrill and excitement of meeting and dating new people yet. As we're both not particularly jealous people, we decided to try a non-monogamous relationship, and it worked well for us ever since. I also already tried explaining this to Catherine once or twice, so from my point of view, I did my due diligence to have a good relationship with her, but her perception of that might differ. Anyways, last week Anna had an unexpected emergency call from Catherine, and as it turns out, she's serving her hubby with divorce papers because he had a secret affair over the last few months. As a good friend does, Anna immediately invited her friend to stay at our place for a few weeks until things are sorted out. Catherine doesn't have family here, but we both have beds in our respective home offices, and so in her mind, it was the perfect solution. When Anna told me a few minutes after the call, I quickly had to pump the brakes. I'm not going to lie. The idea of having a hostile houseguest in my own home isn't unappealing on its own already, but that's not even my main reason. Both Anna and I have friends with benefits secondary partners that occasionally stay over when Anna works night shift, or I'm traveling for work, and they also visit just for the occasional platonic movie night or dinner party. Friends with benefits are friends after all. Now, having Catherine here would mean we'd either have to significantly scale back these relationships for an undetermined length of time or have them over anyways. As I imagine Catherine is probably even less tolerant towards perceived infidelity right now, that would probably just be a shitty to hostile experience for our other partners. Both of these things, to me, sound unfair towards me and our secondary relationships, as we always saw these as real relationships that deserve respect and consideration just as much as our relationship, within some increments of prioritization, of course. I told Anna that I don't want Catherine living here. Anna pretty much saw my reasoning right away, and, given that I own the house, apologized for her rushed invitation and called Catherine to take it back. But since then, the situation has gotten out of hand, TBH. Our friends are pretty much split along the lines of, it's your house, and wow, you put Catherine on the streets just because of your secondary partners? And Catherine kicked the conversation up an additional notch by insinuating that I'm trying to isolate Anna from her, and just said no because I hate that they are friends. For the record, I never had a problem with their friendship, nor did I ever do anything to limit it. Anyways, I'm increasingly starting to wonder if my objection has been worth it and the right call, or if it's been unfair towards Catherine. To add, maybe to clarify, Catherine has never been outwardly aggressive or offensive against me. It's always been insinuations and probably gossip. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, not the idiot. It should have been discussed with you prior to offering, but Anna seems pretty rational and course-corrected. There are plenty of ways for Anna to support Catherine other than bringing this person into your home that judges you and does not accept your relationship. Your objection is worth it, as it sounds like if Catherine moves in for a term, she will serve to cause you problems and frustration. Comment 2. You aren't putting Catherine on the street due to your side chicks. You are not allowing someone who's openly hostile to you to invade your private space. There's a big difference. I'd tell everyone, including Catherine, that the people who live in the home discussed the matter at hand and came to an agreement, and their comments aren't necessary because the matter is closed. Not the idiot now, for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for sticking around. So, after Anna called Catherine to retract the invitation, things got really tense. Catherine didn't take it well at all. She showed up at our house the next day, unannounced, and demanded to speak with Anna. I was at work, but Anna told me later that Catherine was furious and accused her of choosing me over their friendship. Anna tried to explain our situation, but Catherine wasn't having any of it. She left in a huff, saying she didn't need friends who couldn't support her in her time of need. That night, Anna and I had a long talk. She was really upset, torn between her loyalty to Catherine and our relationship. I could see how much it was hurting her, and it made me question if I had made the right decision. But I also knew that having Catherine in our home would create more problems than it would solve. We decided to stick to our guns and hoped that Catherine would eventually understand. The next day, things took a turn for the worse. Catherine started reaching out to our mutual friends, telling them her side of the story. She painted me as the villain, saying I was controlling and manipulative. Some of our friends started to distance themselves from us, and it felt like we were being ostracized. Anna was devastated, and I felt helpless. We had always been open and honest about our relationship, but now it felt like we were being judged and punished for it. As if that wasn't enough, one of Anna's secondary partners, Mark, got caught in the crossfire. He had been a good friend to both of us, and we often hung out together. But after hearing Catherine's version of events, he started to question our relationship dynamics. He confronted Anna, asking if she was truly happy and if I was pressuring her into anything. Anna was hurt and angry, feeling like her autonomy was being questioned. She assured Mark that she was happy and that our relationship was consensual, but the damage was done. Mark started to pull away, and it felt like we were losing another friend. In the midst of all this, I had to travel for work. Being away from home during such a turbulent time was tough. I worried about Anna and how she was coping with everything. We talked on the phone every night, but it wasn't the same as being there in person. I could hear the strain in her voice, and it broke my heart. I wanted to be there for her, but I also had responsibilities at work that I couldn't ignore. While I was away, Anna decided to reach out to Catherine one more time. She wanted to try and salvage their friendship, even if it meant compromising a bit. They met up for coffee, and Anna told me later that the conversation was tense but civil. Catherine was still hurt and angry, but she agreed to give their friendship another chance. They set some boundaries, and Anna promised to be more supportive. It felt like a small victory, but I couldn't shake the feeling that things would never be the same. When I got back from my trip, I could sense the tension in the air. Anna and I tried to get back to our normal routine, but it was clear that the events of the past few days had taken a toll on us. We were both on edge, and it felt like we were walking on thin ice. Our secondary partners were also affected, and it felt like our whole social circle was in disarray. One night, Anna and I had a heart-to-heart conversation. She admitted that she was struggling with the fallout from Catherine's accusations and the strain it had put on our relationship. She felt guilty for not being able to support Catherine and for the rift it had caused between us. I tried to reassure her, but I could see that she was hurting. It made me realize how much this whole situation had affected her, and it made me question if we had made the right decision. As we talked, Anna opened up about her past. She told me about a previous relationship where she had felt pressured and controlled. It was one of the reasons she had been drawn to our open relationship in the first place. She valued her independence and didn't want to feel trapped again. Hearing her story made me understand her perspective better, and it made me even more determined to support her. But things didn't get better. Catherine continued to spread her version of events, and our social circle remained divided. Anna and I started to argue more, and it felt like we were drifting apart. The stress of the situation was taking a toll on both of us, and it felt like we were stuck in a never-ending cycle of conflict and tension. One day, I came home to find Anna packing her bags. She told me that she needed some space to clear her head and figure things out. She was going to stay with a friend for a while. I was devastated, but I knew that she needed this time for herself. We hugged and promised to stay in touch, but it felt like our relationship was hanging by a thread. In the days that followed, I tried to focus on my work and keep myself busy. But the house felt empty without Anna, and I couldn't shake the feeling of loneliness. I missed her, and I worried about what the future held for us. Our friends continued to be divided, and it felt like we were losing more people every day. As I sat alone in our house, I couldn't help but think about how things had spiraled out of control. What had started as a simple decision to protect our relationship had turned into a nightmare. I wondered if we would ever be able to repair the damage and find our way back to each other. Thanks for reading. Am I the idiot for refusing to fund my fiancé's daughter's college and ending our relationship after he went behind my back? I am 36 years old, and I have 2 sons from a previous relationship, ages 17 and 16. Their father, 40 years old, and I didn't work out for several reasons, but it is what it is. I am a registered nurse, and I took on an extra job to make sure my kids would have their educations paid for by the time they got there, regardless of which route they took, college, trades, whatever. I didn't want them to start out their adult lives in debt up to their eyeballs. My ex also contributes monthly. My main paycheck pays for my bills and anything we need, and my extra job is specifically for savings for my future and theirs. It is split 3 ways. I've done this for about 16 years or so. Their educations are paid for at this point. My oldest is getting ready for his final year of high school, and he is planning on going into the trades, so the money is ready for him to go. It will not take all of the money, so the rest will be for whatever he chooses to do with it. Hopefully he makes smart decisions with it. I believe he will. He is a smart kid, but the money is his. His father and I made sure he would have it. He also already has his foot in the door in his field because of his summer jobs working as a helper. A few years ago, I met a man and we are currently engaged. He has a daughter from a previous relationship as well, and she is now 18 and will be starting college soon. She is going into marketing. She does not have any sort of college savings and will have to take out loans and apply for grants on top of living expenses and everything else she will have to pay for. She has no job experience, nor does she have any sort of life experience, all of which can be gained, but she will have a lot of tough things to deal with. It absolutely sucks, and I feel for her. However, my fiancé wants me to take the money my son will not be using for trade school and give it to his daughter so she will have something. He also wants me to take from my younger son's account since there is still some time before he finishes high school and is ready to use it, as well as from my personal savings for my retirement one day. It has become a giant argument because my children's college funds are for them. My ex and I spent years contributing to them and making sure our children would have the money when they need it. My 16-year-old will be going to college. He wants to go into robotics. It's his thing, and he's been in the robotics clubs and summer camps for robotics, and similar since he was little. That's going to cost us a pretty penny, so we made absolutely sure we had enough in there to cover it. I will not take from their accounts. It is their money. My fiancé and his ex are both upper middle class. He owns a business and she is in business management. He has a nice house. We do not live together at the moment, and all of our assets are currently separate, and multiple vehicles, a boat, all the fancy pants stuff. He goes golfing and is always spending money. So he really doesn't have much money. He has assets. He could easily sell the boat, get a cheaper car and sell his nicer ones, etc., and pay for her to go to school if he chose. He just hasn't. He said he worked for everything he has and isn't selling anything. It annoys me because why beg for my children's money when he refuses to contribute to his own child's future when he could, and he could have been doing so for years now instead of buying more stuff. Anyway, I have refused to take any money from the accounts, and my fiancé and I are very strained in the relationship right now. I have put the marriage plans on hold because I feel like he is being very greedy, and it's very off-putting for me. However, I'm not sure if I am being an a-hole for straight up refusing to pay for anything from my own account. I do have several years before I retire, and I can technically contribute, but I don't want to work 2 jobs forever. I was planning to drop my second job as soon as my boys finish their educations and move out. To add, thanks everyone for the feedback. Kinda glad I did this now. I'm glad I haven't completely lost it yet, and everyone else thinks this is ridiculous as well. I don't know what I will do with this relationship. It is very off-putting, and I agree with a lot of you about it, so I will have to really take a look at everything. I guess time will tell what I will do. I have a lot to think about. Thanks again. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. He said he worked for everything he has and isn't selling anything. Girl, your fiancé is trash. Your work doesn't count then? He gave you the answer. Tell him that you worked for everything you have and you are not giving him anything. Not the idiot, and I hate being a Reddit stereotype, but you need to dump that jerk. Someone who feels that entitled to your work and your money and your kids' money doesn't deserve one more minute in your presence. Edit. And this is also your ex's money. Your fiancé has no claim on that. Edit 2. I wouldn't be surprised if your fiancé is deep in debt also, and probably doesn't have much for his retirement. Comment 2. Not the idiot, if my mother gave my college money to her stepdaughter, I would go no contact with her. You will lose your children by choosing your fiancé's daughter over your own children. This is a hill to die on, especially since your fiancé could pay his daughter's tuition. He has chosen to buy toys for himself instead. Think about this. The man you're planning on marrying has chosen his wants over his daughter's needs. Why are you marrying him again? Now for the update, hey everyone, thanks for reading. So a lot has happened since I last updated. 3 days ago, my fiancé and I had another heated argument about the money. He was insistent that I should help his daughter with her college expenses. I stood my ground, explaining once again that the money was for my sons and their futures. He stormed out, and I thought that was the end of it for the night. But I was wrong. The next morning, I found out that he had gone to my ex-husband behind my back. He tried to convince him to talk me into using the boys' funds for his daughter. My ex called me, furious, and we had a long conversation about boundaries and respect. It was clear that my fiancé had crossed a line, and my ex was adamant that our boys' money should remain untouched. Feeling betrayed, I confronted my fiancé. He didn't see anything wrong with what he did and accused me of being selfish. I was so angry that I told him we needed a break. I couldn't believe he would go behind my back like that. I needed time to think and figure out what to do next. During this break, I had a lot of time to reflect on our relationship. I realized that this wasn't the first time he had shown a lack of respect for my decisions. There were other instances where he had tried to control or manipulate situations to his advantage. I started to see a pattern, and it was unsettling. Meanwhile, my oldest son was getting ready for his final year of high school. He was excited about his future in the trades and had already lined up a summer job as a helper. He was thriving, and I was so proud of him. My younger son was also doing well, focusing on his robotics projects and preparing for college. They both had bright futures ahead of them, and I didn't want anything to jeopardize that. As I was dealing with all of this, my fiancé's daughter reached out to me. She was upset and confused about the whole situation. She didn't understand why her father was so insistent on using my son's money for her education. We had a long talk, and I explained everything to her. She was sympathetic and even apologized for her father's behavior. It was a tough conversation, but it brought us closer. However, things took a turn for the worse when my fiancé found out about our conversation. He accused me of turning his daughter against him and making him look bad. I was at my wit's end. I couldn't believe how toxic things had become. I decided it was time to end the relationship for good. Breaking up with my fiancé was one of the hardest things I've ever done. He didn't take it well and tried to guilt-trip me into staying. But I stood my ground. I knew I had to protect my sons and their futures. It was a painful decision, but it was the right one. In the aftermath of the breakup, I focused on my boys and their needs. I continued working my 2 jobs, ensuring that their education funds remained intact. I also started therapy to help me process everything that had happened. It was a difficult time, but I was determined to come out stronger. As I navigated this new chapter in my life, I couldn't help but think about my own past. My ex-husband and I had our share of problems, but we always put our boys first. We worked hard to provide for them and ensure they had a bright future. It was a stark contrast to my fiancé's behavior, and it made me appreciate my ex even more. I also thought about my own upbringing. My parents had always emphasized the importance of hard work and responsibility. They taught me to be independent and to never rely on others for my success. These values had shaped who I was and how I approached life. It was clear that my fiancé didn't share these values, and that was a fundamental issue in our relationship. Looking back, I realized that I had ignored some red flags early on. My fiancé's lavish lifestyle and lack of financial planning should have been a warning sign, but I was blinded by love and the desire to build a future together. It was a hard lesson to learn, but it made me more cautious and aware of what I wanted in a partner. As I moved forward, I focused on rebuilding my life and creating a stable environment for my sons. I reconnected with old friends and leaned on my support system. I also made a conscious effort to prioritize self-care and mental health. It was a long road, but I was determined to heal and grow from this experience. In the end, I learned that sometimes the hardest decisions are the ones that lead to the most growth. I had to let go of a toxic relationship to protect my sons and myself. It was a painful process, but it was necessary. I came out stronger and more resilient, ready to face whatever challenges life threw my way. Thanks for reading. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.